You guys want to know what I find absolutely baffling? The fact that the defending reigning NFC West champions, that's right, the defending reigning champions of the best division in all of football, my Seattle Seahawks, are not only not the favorites to win their own division this upcoming season, they're not even projected to finish in second in their own division. Now, to make matters worse, the Los Angeles Rams, and while I understand they did defeat my Seattle Seahawks in the wild card round last year, a lot of people are picking them not only to win the division, but to represent the NFC if it's not the Buccaneers or the Packers in the Super Bowl. That is absolutely blasphemous, and allow me to dispel that very notion. Sire.
It's good, brother.
Roll the clip.
Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah. Here comes the.
Steezy family. What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying and having a lovely day. Be sure to join the family and hit that subscribe button for us. Don't forget to also leave us a like and drop a comment, as it helps us out tremendously with the YouTube algorithm. And last but not least, follow us on our other socials at Steezy Smith to keep up to date with what's going on in our world. Now you're tuning to Steezy A, and let's get to cooking, shall we? Reason number one. First of all, a lot of fans are pinning their hopes on quarterback and 33-year-old Matthew Stafford, who I think is overrated. While he is a significant upgrade over Jared Goff, is he going to be able to offset some of the losses that they suffered on defense? Is he going to be able to offset some of the losses that they suffered with the loss of Cam Akers to torn Achilles earlier in training camp? Are they going to be able to offset some of the other weaknesses on the Rams roster? I think not. Despite being a veteran in the NFL, despite spending more than 10 years in the NFL, Matthew Stafford is just a one-time Pro Bowler, and that was as an alternate. And a lot of people will point to the fact that, okay, the Detroit Lions were an absolutely pathetic franchise. They were run terribly, but let's not act as if they didn't provide them with any pieces whatsoever. If we go back to a year like 2014, for example, not only did Matthew Stafford have the aid and the help from a top 10 defense, he had an above-average offensive line, he had a great coach in Jim Caldwell, and he also had Calvin Johnson, one of the best and most dominating receivers in the past decade, who actually just got elected into the Hall of Fame despite only being 35 years old just the other day. He had Golden Tate, who was one of the better slot receivers of his era during that time. He had Reggie Bush, and so he had some pieces around him. You know what that ended in? A playoff appearance, but not a single playoff victory. And in his entire 10+ year career, Matthew Stafford doesn't have a single playoff victory. He doesn't have any All-Pros. He's never won a division. And he's had great pieces around him, but he's never been able to take his team very far. And so, yes, I agree. He is a massive and a significant upgrade over Jared Goff, but now there are other questions on the roster. Where's the run game going to come from? Yes, Sean McVay's offense is very explosive, and it has been in the last couple of years, but that was mainly because they had a Todd Gurley. They had a guy that could carry the load. They had a running back that could not only run the football, but could also catch passes out of the backfield and protect the quarterback on third downs. Darrell Henderson, while he's very intriguing, while he was super efficient last year, I'm not a big believer of him. That rolls us on to reason number two. Matthew Stafford doesn't have a reliable run game at this point in time. Like I just said, Darrell Henderson, while he was effective and efficient in limited time last year, he really hasn't shown too much in the NFL. And while I get it, a lot of guys need time to really become who they're gonna become in the NFL. He's only been in the league for a couple of years. I just don't see a full feature back in him. He's the same height as me. He's at 5'8", and yes, I get it. He has about 40 to 50 pounds on me, but I just don't see him playing that Todd Gurley role. And I see him as a type of back that has to succeed or has to be part of a platoon to really unlock and have success at the NFL level. And Matthew Stafford, a lot of the knocks on him, or at least a lot of the knocks on the Detroit Lions in the past couple of years, was the fact that he never had a reliable run game and that he had to overcompensate repeatedly in terms of volume, in terms of passing attempts. And yes, he's gonna have one of the best receiver duos in football with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. He has a great reliable third option, a speedster in Deshaun Jackson, and he has a reliable tight end in Tyler Higbee. But aside from that, he doesn't have much else. Like I said, he is 33 years old, and even his offensive line is getting older at this point in the NFL. While the Rams did display a top 10 offensive line last year, the guys are only getting older, and they are working with a new center. And so I'm not super confident in Matthew Stafford, and I'm not super confident in the running game as a whole. Moving on to number three. While that defense is elite, and while that defense did finish number one in a lot of categories last year, they did finish number one in terms of least amount of yards allowed. They finished number 2 in sacks with 53. That defense is going to take a step back, and so that defense isn't going to be there because they're not the defense that they were last year. They're not going to be able to carry Matthew Stafford. He's not going to have a run game to be able to carry him as well. That defense still has the best, arguably, football player in all the NFL and Aaron Donald. Yes, they still have Jalen Ramsey, the NFL's premier and shutdown cornerback. But aside from those two, and aside from having a top-heavy roster, what else do they have? They lost Troy Hill, one of the game's better slot cornerbacks. They lost a top 10 safety in John Johnson, who also happens to be the most underrated safety in all of football. And I don't know how much stock y'all might put into Pro Football Focus, but according to them, statistically and individually, he was a top 3 safety in football last year. Now, both those guys have since departed to the Cleveland Browns. Not only that, they traded stalwart defensive tackle Michael Barkers to the Detroit Lions for pennies on the dollar, a 7th round pick. Yes, they were trying to save money, but you just don't trade a guy like him who also happens to be one of the better run stuffers at his position for pennies on a dollar and expect to get adequate production from another guy. A'Shawn Robinson is solid. He's another guy that can stuff the run, but again, I'm not sold on their defense. Leonard Floyd, they managed to re-sign to 4 years and $64 million, but with the exception of last year, he's never had a season in which he had more than 7 sacks. I guess you could say he's more of a product of having Aaron Donald beside him. You could say the same for Michael Barkers, but he had plenty of years of success in LA. And while that defense, like I said, finished #1 last year, they are going to take a step back. And they did also lose the mastermind of that defense, as defensive coordinator Brandon Staley has now become the head coach for the Los Angeles Chargers. You don't lose the mastermind. You don't lose a top 10 safety. You don't lose an underrated slot cornerback. You don't lose an underrated defensive tackle and still return the same level of excellence and success that you had last year. And so all those things in place, all those things being said, I just don't think that the Rams are the NFC West favorites as it stands right now. Obviously, injury is going to change a lot of things. We don't know if San Fran is going to stay healthy. We don't know if Arizona is going to take that next leap. We don't know if Seattle and Russell Wilson is going to be able to put together a consistent and offensive game plan throughout the whole year. But with the Rams, with so many question marks in their running game, I have a few question marks on their defense, or I have a few question marks about their defense. That's one of the reasons why I can't say that this team is a bona fide contender in not only the NFC West, but in the NFC as a whole. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Am I tripping, or are the Rams actually Super Bowl contenders coming out of the NFC West? Be sure to comment your thoughts down below. That marks the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Nothing but love. All glory to God, and Steezy out. Again, this video is going to be dedicated to Mr. Todd Nas. While that concludes this video, we have loads of other content. You don't have to stop watching there. Other content on our channel homepage, as well as our social media platforms. And again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for us. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Nothing but love, and Steezy out.